Hey Lions, thanks for joining me so we can continue our read aloud with wonder. Before we pick up where we left off, I want us to go back to our plot diagram for a minute. If you recall yesterday, we were continuing to identify the exposition of the story, which has to do with the setting, the characters, and the climate or mood. And yesterday we talked about specifically the mood. Remember, mood is how you feel when you're reading a novel. Now, there's something else that can help develop the mood and help develop the climate, and that is called tone. So let me type this down here. Whoops, I didn't want to delete that. Let's try that again. So I'm going to type tone. And then if you recall, this was the mood. And you can hear my Stanley in the background, who's not in a good mood right now. So I should probably use my tone of voice to tell him what he should do. So the mood is how we feel when we're reading a story. And so we said we were feeling nervous, worried, and tense because Augie was realizing he was going to have to go to school, to a private school, rather than be homeschooled. And he was feeling pretty uneasy about it. Now, the tone is also a feeling, but it's not how we, as the reader of the novel, are feeling. It's how the author feels about what's happening in the story. So mood and tone are both about how people are feeling, but mood is how the person reading the story feels, where tone is how the author feels about the topic. So there's some clues that we can use to figure this out. Let's think just about tone for a minute. And the examples of tone, they're the same as mood. The author can feel the same thing that we can feel as the reader or the audience. And it's the way the author feels about the topic that makes us feel a certain way. So they do go hand in hand. But so the list here of how the tone, how the author feels, are really the same as how we can feel as the audience. Have you ever heard maybe someone at home, mom, dad, grandpa, aunt, uncle, has anyone ever said, "Don't you use that tone of voice with me, Missy"? That is how you say something. And if you say something in a angry tone of voice, you're probably raising your voice, you're yelling, you're saying things in a not so kind way. So your tone can be either positive or it can be negative. So, for example, I could say the exact same phrase, but depending on my tone of voice, you're going to know how I feel about it. For example, if I were to say, "You cleaned your room," you could figure out that my tone was excited because my voice, like I raised my voice in an excited manner. You saw my hands kind of cheering almost. So you could tell my tone was I was excited. I could say the exact same thing, but in a different tone, and you can figure out how I'm feeling. So now listen, "You cleaned your room?" So that time you could tell my tone of voice was sarcasm. I probably sounded a little bit disgusted and was all just in the way I said it, my facial expression. So my tone was very different. So I said the exact same thing. "You cleaned your room." You cleaned your room? So I'm saying the same thing, but the way I said it and my facial expression shows you my tone is very different. The first example, I'm excited, I'm happy. The second example, I'm disgusted, and obviously the person did not really clean their room. just based on my expression and how I said it. So you can figure out the author's tone based on how things are being said. You can figure out their tone by whose point of view we're hearing the story from. So let's go back to the beginning and figure out what the tone was at the beginning of the story. If you recall yesterday, when we reread some of the examples, it was all being told from Augie's point of view. So right then and there, that's a clue to me that the author's tone of voice, they must be feeling in a similar way as Augie. So uncertain, scared, worried, because it was all from Augie's point of view. So that really does give me a clue about how the author feels about what's happening in the beginning of the story. And the author used expressions such as pretty much totally and completely petrified. So some of the things that are being said help us to see what the author's tone is. And let's see, the parents were arguing. So the things that are included in there help to see that the author, I almost feel like the author was conflicted because the author shared what the father was feeling, shared what the mother was feeling, and shared what how Augie was feeling. So you really got to hear kind of everyone's point of view about it. It was a little bit, you could tell that the author probably thought it was the best thing to happen, but then they were really scared and worried for Augie as well. I think if the author felt that it was what was best for Augie, he definitely had to do it, had to go to private school. The author probably just would have stuck from Mom's point of view, but you really did kind of hear all sides of it. So let's go back to our plot diagram, and I'm going to say the tone, which is how the author feels about what's happening, is conflicted. And what that means is they aren't sure that Augie should go to private school or not. They can see all sides of it. So I think the tone is conflicted, and because the author was conflicted, that resulted in me feeling nervous, worried, and tense. So the author's tone, or how they feel, can create the mood, how you feel while you're reading. So it's all related. One causes the other, and they all have an impact on each other. And so this is something that a good author does, is they have a tone, they use a tone of voice, and you can figure out the tone of voice by the point of view it's being told from, the way they're saying things, the type of things that they're saying. All of these things work together to give you clues about what the tone is. And that, boys and girls, is what the exposition of a story is. Remember, it's just a fancy way of saying the introduction of the story. Important elements to the story, including the setting, which is where and when a story takes place, the characters, the major characters, and remember, they're the people that, if they were removed from the story would completely change. The minor characters are the other people that just make it a little more exciting and help move the events along. And then the climate and the mood, really the mood and the tone make up the climate. The mood is how you as the reader feel, whereas the tone is how the author feels about the topic. So it's almost like you have to be a detective and you have to find the clues in the story to figure these things out. Okay, let's go ahead and pick up on our reading. We left off with, let's see. We left off where Miranda we were hearing from her point of view, and she pretended like she was sick so that Via could go on the stage and the leading role as Emily. And where we left off, Via was getting ready to go out on stage. Mr. Davenport was waving her on because it was time for her to go on stage. And so the title of this chapter is called The Performance. I watched the rest of the play from the wings just off stage next to Davenport. Justin was amazing, and Via in that heartbreaking last scene was awesome. There was one line she flubbed a bit, but Justin covered for her, and no one in the audience even noticed. I heard Davenport muttering under his breath, "Good, good, good." He was more nervous than all of the students put together. The actors, the set decorators, the lighting team, the guy handling the curtains. Davenport was a wreck, frankly. The only time I felt any regret, if you could even call it that, was at the end of the play when everyone went out for the curtain calls. Via and Justin were the last of the actors walking out on stage, and the audience rose to their feet when they took their bows. That, I admit, was a little bittersweet for me. But just a few minutes later, I saw Nate and Isabel and Augie make their way backstage, and they all seemed so happy. Everyone was congratulating the actors, patting them on the back. It was that crazy backstage theater mayhem where sweaty actors stand euphoric while people come worship them for a few seconds. In the crush of people, I noticed Augie looking kind of lost. I cut through the crowd as fast as I could and came up behind him. "Hey," I said, "Major Tom." After the show, that's the next chapter. I can't say why I was so happy to see August again after so long, or how good it felt when he hugged me. "I can't believe how big you've gotten," I said to him. "I thought you were going to be in the play," he said. "I wasn't up to it," I said. "But Via was great, don't you think?" He nodded. 2 seconds later, Isabel found us. "Miranda," she said happily, giving me a kiss on the cheek, and then to August, "Don't ever disappear like that again." "You're the one who disappeared," Augie answered back. "How are you feeling?" Isabel said to me. "Via told us you got sick." "Much better," I answered. "Is your mom here?" said Isabel. "No, she had work stuff, so it's actually not a big deal for me," I said truthfully. "We have 2 more shows anyway, though I don't think I'll be as good as at Emily as Via was tonight." Nate came over and we had basically this exact same conversation. Then Isabel said, "Look, we're going to have a late night dinner to celebrate the show. Are you feeling up to joining us? We'd love to have you." "Oh, no," I started to say. "Please," said Augie. "I should go home," I said. "We insist," said Nate. By now, Via and Justin had come over with Justin's mom, and Via put her arm around me. "You're definitely coming," she said, smiling her old smile at me. They started leading me out of the crowd, and I have to admit, for the first time in a very, very long time, I felt absolutely happy. Part 8, August. So now it's back to August's point of view. You know what? So the section from Miranda's point of view was a really short section, but if the author hadn't written this story from her point of view for that little part, we would have never known that Miranda wasn't actually sick, that she actually pretended to be sick so Via could have her moment in the spotlight, so to speak, because she saw her whole family there, really excited to be there. And Miranda didn't have anyone from her family there in the audience. So that was a really cool technique the author used. That's a technique you could use when you're writing a story. Okay, so now part 8, August. And the title of this chapter is called The 5th Grade Nature Retreat. Every year in the spring, the 5th graders of Beecher Prep go away for 3 days and 2 nights to a place called Brewerwood Nature Reserve in Pennsylvania. It's a 4-hour bus drive away. The kids sleep in cabins with bunk beds. There are campfires and s'mores and long walks through the woods. The teachers have been prepping us about it all year long, so all the kids in the grades are excited about it, except for me. And it's not even that I'm not excited, because I kind of am. It's just I've never slept away from home before, and I'm kind of nervous. Most kids have had sleepovers by the time they're my age. A lot of kids have gone to sleepaway camps or stayed with their grandparents or whatever. Not me, unless you include hospital stays, but even then, Mom or Dad always stayed with me overnight. But I never slept over at Tata or Papa's house or Aunt Kate or Po's house. When I was really little, that was mainly because there were too many medical issues, like my trach tube needing to be cleaned every hour, or reinserting my feeding tube if it got detached. But when I got bigger, I just never felt like sleeping anywhere else. There was one time when I half slept over at Christopher's house. We were about 8, and we were still best friends. Our family had gone for a visit to his house, and me and Christopher were having such a great time playing Lego Star Wars. I didn't want to leave when it was time to go. We were like, please, 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 can we have a sleepover? So our parents said yes, and Mom and Dad drove home, and me and Christopher stayed up till midnight playing until Lisa's mom said, okay, guys, time to go to bed. Well, that's when I kind of panicked a bit. Lisa tried to get me to help me go to sleep, but I just started crying and I wanted to go home. So at 1 a.m., Lisa called Mom and Dad drove all the way out to Bridgeport to pick me up. We didn't get home until 3 a.m., so my one and only sleepover up until now was pretty much a disaster, and which is why I'm a little nervous about the nature retreat. On the other hand, I'm really excited. Oh boy, I hope it goes well. The next chapter is called Known For. I asked Mom to buy me a new rolling duffel bag because my old one had Star Wars stuff on it, and there was no way I was going to take that to the 5th grade nature retreat. As much as I love Star Wars, I don't want that to be what I'm known for. Everyone's known for something in middle school. Like Reed is known for really being into marine life and oceans and things like that. And Amos is known for being a really good baseball player. And Charlotte is known for having been on a TV commercial when she was 6. And Jimena is known for being really smart. My point is that in middle school, you kind of get known for what you're into. And you have to be careful about stuff like that. Like Max G and Max W will never live down their Dungeons and Dragons obsession. So I was actually trying to ease out of the whole Star Wars thing a bit. I mean, it'll always be special to me, like it is with the doctor who put in my hearing aids. It's just not the thing I want to be known for in middle school. I'm not sure what I want to be known for, but it's not that. That's not exactly true. I do know what I'm really known for, but there's nothing I can do about that. A Star Wars duffel bag, I could do something about. Packing is the next chapter. Mom helped me pack the night before the big trip. We put all the clothes I was taking on my bed, and she folded everything neatly and put it inside the bag while I watched. It was a plain blue rolling duffel, by the way, no logos or artwork. What if I can't sleep at night, I asked. Take a book with you. Then if you can't sleep, you can pull out your flashlight and read for a bit until you get sleepy, she answered. I nodded. What if I have a nightmare? Your teachers will be there, sweetie, she said, and Jack, and your friends. I can bring Babu, I said. That was my favorite stuffed animal when I was little, a small black bear with a soft black nose. You don't really sleep with him anymore, do you? Said Mom. No, but I keep him in my closet in case I wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep, I said. I could hide him in my bag. No one would know. Then let's do that, Mom said, getting Babu from inside my closet. I wish they allowed cell phones, I said. I know, me too, she said. Though I know you're going to have a great time, Augie. You sure you want me to pack Babu? Yeah, but way down there so no one can see him, I said. She stuck Babu deep inside the bag and stuffed the last two of my t-shirts on top of them. So many clothes for just 2 days. 3 days and 2 nights, I corrected her. Yep, she said, smiling. 3 days and 2 nights. She zipped up the duffel bag and picked it up. Not too heavy. Try it. I picked up the duffel bag. Fine, I shrugged. She sat on the bed. Hey, what happened to your Empire Strikes Back poster? Oh, I took that down ages ago, I answered. She shook her head. Huh, I didn't notice it before. I'm trying to, change my image a bit, I explained. Okay, she smiled, nodding like she understood. Anyway, honey, you have to promise me you won't forget to put on the bug spray, okay? On the legs, especially when you're hiking through the woods. It's right here in the front compartment. Uh-huh. And put on your sunscreen, she said. You do not want to get a sunburn. And don't, I repeat, do not forget to take your hearing aids off if you go swimming. Would I get electrocuted? No, but you'd be in real hot water with Daddy because those things cost a fortune, she laughed. I put the rain poncho in the front compartment too. Same thing goes if it rains, Augie, okay? Make sure you cover your hearing aids with the hood. Aye, aye, sir, I said, saluting. She smiled and pulled me over. I can't believe how much you've grown up this year, Augie, she said softly, putting her hands on the sides of my face. Do I look taller? Definitely, she said. I'm still the shortest one in my grade. I'm really not even talking about your height, she said. Suppose I hate it there. You're going to have a great time, Augie. I nodded. She got up and gave me a quick kiss on the forehead. Okay, so I say we get to bed now. It's only 9 o'clock, Mom. Your bus leaves at 6 a.m. tomorrow. You don't want to be late. Come on, chop chop. Your teeth are brushed. I nodded and climbed into bed. She started to lie down next to me. You don't need to put me to bed tonight, Mom, I said. I'll read on my own until I get sleepy. Really? She nodded, impressed. She squeezed my hand and gave it a kiss. Okay, then. Good night, love. Have sweet dreams. You too. She turned on the little reading light beside the bed. I'll write you letters, I said as she was leaving, even though I'll probably be home before you guys even get them. Then we can read them together, she said, and threw me a kiss. When she left my room, I took my copy of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe off the night table and started reading until I fell asleep. Though the witch knew the deep magic, there is a magic deeper still which she did not know. Her knowledge goes back only to the dawn of time. But if she could have looked a little further back into the stillness and the darkness before time dawned, she would have read there a different incantation. Okay, Daybreak. We'll read this last chapter for this session. The next day I woke up really early. It was still dark outside my room and even darker outside, though I knew it would be morning soon. I turned over on my side but didn't feel at all sleepy. That's when I saw Daisy sitting near my bed. I mean, I knew it wasn't Daisy, but for a second I saw a shadow that looked just like her. I didn't think it was a dream, but now looking back, I know it must have been. It didn't make me sad to see her at all. It just filled me up with nice feelings inside. She was gone after a second, and I couldn't see her again in the darkness. The room slowly started lightening. I reached for my hearing aid headband and put it on. And now the world was really awake. I could hear the garbage trucks clunking down the street and the birds in our backyard. And down the hallway, oh, I need to go finish this paragraph and go check on somebody. And down the hallway, I heard Mom's alarm beeping. Daisy's ghost made me feel super strong inside, knowing wherever I am, she'd be there with me. I got up out of bed and went to my desk and wrote a little note to Mom. Then I went into the living room where my packed bag was by the door. I opened it up and fished inside until I found what I was looking for. I took Babu back to my room and I laid him in my bed and taped the little note to Mom on his chest. And then I covered him with my blanket so Mom would find him later. The note read, "Dear Mom, I won't need Babu, but if you miss me, you can cuddle with him yourself. XO Augie." Wow, that's really cool. He's feeling really confident about his camp. So that's exciting. All right, Lions. So remember, we learned today that the tone helps create the climate, the overall climate of the story, along with the mood. The tone is how we believe the author feels about what's happening. They create tone by choosing whose point of view the story is told from, the way things are said. They can create tone through the setting that they use or that they describe, but the tone is how the author feels about what's happening, whereas the mood is how we as the reader feel. All right, we'll pick up right here tomorrow and we'll continue reading.